Hey there, today I'm talking about another leader of Hydra with the aptly named Red Skull Master of Hydra. My name is Nate, and welcome to the Gamers Guild. I won't lie, I've been having an absolute blast with Baron Strucker with a list focused on status conditions, but I would also be lying if I didn't say I had any interest in being able to rock this new Red Skull in his crazy good and generic leadership. But I'll get into that after we talk about the Master of Hydra, who once again has an alter ego of Johann Schmidt. He has 7 stamina, moves medium on a 50mm base, is size 2 for 5 threat. He has 4 physical defense, and then a printed stat of 2 energy and 2 mystic, but spoiler alert, they aren't always that low, thankfully. His first attack is a physical blitz strike, has a range of 3, strength of 6 for no power, and it's only a gainer, so Red Skull will get 1 guaranteed power after the attack is resolved. Additionally, if you roll a wild and a hit, the attack gains blitz, and you can advance Red Skull short after the attack is resolved. And what's really nice about that is this advance doesn't have a directional limiter, so he can blitz onto an objective or retreat back to safety. As well, if you get that wild and then also roll a block, the attack gains a size 3 push that shoves the enemy away short before damage is dealt, which is my favorite timing on these kind of things because they can get pushed off of a point and still get daze, so their following turn is just that much more lackluster. This is just right off the bat a really solid attack. Sure, it's only a gainer instead of a builder, but it would be busted if it was a builder because reasons. Skull's second attack is Kneel Before Me, and it can be energy or mystic, has a range of 2, strength of 9 for a whopping 5 power. And if you roll a wild, you get to throw an enemy character that is size 4 or less away medium, as long as, they're the target of the attack. So it's a good distance and a good size throw. Now, you know how I mentioned that Blitz Strike would be broken if it was a traditional builder instead of just the guaranteed 1 power? Well, Schmidt's first superpower is the reason why. Empowered Gauntlets is an active power that costs 2 and allows for the next Blitz Strike attack this turn to count blanks as successes in the attack roll. So counts blanks as successes is the best consistency modifier in the game, even more so than rerolls. Like, there is a reason that only 2 characters could count blanks as successes on attacks until now, and they both had 5-die builders. So Red Skull with his 6-die gainer basically has a net loss of 1 power for an attack that hits harder than turn 1 Malekith even. Now here is a graph of the damage that Malekith can get through on his first turn into a 3-3-3 defense. And then here is Red Skull's expected damage output against these same defenses. In fairness to the Tiger King, with his charge, his Alpha Strike range is a lot larger, and he can pretty much guarantee that he will land contesting an objective, not to mention the throw, and the fact that his attack without Cloak of Shadows being available to him. So please don't freak out and think that this new 5-threat Red Skull is going to come in and be a 2-threat cheaper version of Malekith. It just isn't the case. But I wanted to make the comparison of how hard Red Skull can hit from the get-go. But wait, Empowered Gauntlets costs 2 power. How can Red Skull use it on turn 1? Great question. Red Skull's other active power is All-Consuming Obsession. It costs 0 and can only be used once per turn, but in exchange for 1 damage, Red Skull gains 2 power. So Red Skull can move up, interact with an objective, and then use his 2 superpowers to still throw out quite the attack on the middle line, round 1. His other 2 powers are both innate. The first is his Leviathan Armor. It lets you choose one of 2 shielding types during the power phase, and it will last until the next power phase. The first option is the Dispersion Field. He gets to roll 3 additional dice when defending against energy attacks, and he cannot be pushed or advanced by the effects of mystic attacks or enemy superpowers. So, all good things. The other option is the Null Field, and this one lets him add 3 dice to his Mystic Defense pool, and he no longer will suffer damage from collisions. So obviously which one you pick for the turn is going to be very situational, but all in all, it's a nice ability. Just try to keep him away from the Convocation characters that have energy and mystic attacks amongst their attack types. Finally, we have cut off one head, because what would be the Master of Hydra without his endless legion of Hydra troopers? It says if an allied Hydra trooper is not in play when Red Skull is chosen to activate, place them into play within range 1 of him. They gain a stagger token and are now part of your squad. Before we even look at their card, they are already vastly different than the hand ninjas or shield agents, because those come in activated. The Hydra troopers come in staggered, but can still do something once they hit the table and before their boss goes. Now, taking a look at their grunt card, these guys have 3 stamina, move short, are size 2. They only have 1 physical defense, but they have 2 energy and mystic defense. They also only have 1 attack, which is the Hydra energy weapons. It has a range and strength of 4 for no cost, with nothing else attached to it. But they do also have their active Hydra assault. It costs nothing because grunts gain power, but it allows the Hydra troopers to make a move action that also allows their next attack action to have any number of the attack dice re-rolled. However, after that super attack is resolved, the grunts are KO'd. But hey, when you cut off 1 head, yeah. The other thing that makes them vastly different than the other grunts we have seen up to this point is their innate power occupation force. It says that these characters cannot pick up, hold, or interact with extract objective tokens, so no extract shenanigans at all here. But they also do get to interact with secure objectives for free. So what this means is they're able to attempt to control objectives like Mutant Madman and Deadly Meteors, as well as be able to interact with objectives like Extremist Consoles and Heal a Buddy. And then the lack of text saying that they are not allowed to contest other objectives, though, means of course that they count as healthy contesting models for objectives that care about such things. So they can very easily be left on a back B or D point to help rack up points while still having most of your team dedicated to the different fights that are happening across the board. I will also mention real quick that Red Skull has 1 change on his entered side as his stamina drops down to 6. So how does the Master of Hydra hold up aside from his leadership qualifications? The short answer is interestingly. He checks a lot of the boxes you would like to see him check. Some really nice attacks, control opportunities through those attacks, one of the best forms of consistency on an attack, and then he manages to dodge a lot of the negative checkboxes. While he isn't super mobile, he has an attack that can get him some extra movement, but even outside of that, a medium move on a medium base size is pretty good. And really, he won't ever be swimming in power often because his first attack is only a gainer, but when you need some, you can sacrifice a stamina point to make sure you have enough for what you need. However, Red Skull does suffer in 2 places. His overall durability and, to an extent, his action economy. So the action economy is something I'm not sure how big of an issue it's really going to be, because he does have the grunts to help secure objective points, so he will at least have a few things going for him there. But on his own, there are very few guaranteed effects that he can have on the table. So it's really hard to tell how much his Hydra troopers are going to help fill out that 5-threat bubble that Red Skull needs to fill. But a turn where Red Skull has to move and attack, for example, well, that's all he will get to do because everything he has on his card is tied into his actions. As well, his control is tied not just to his actions, but also some dice luck on those attacks. Now, sure, a wild on a 9-die attack should be seen about 75% of the time for his spender, but that other 25% is going to feel pretty bad. The other gripe was his overall durability. For a character that is going to be blitzing into combat, there isn't a ton here to help keep him alive. 13 total stamina and 4 physical defense is nice, but he will always have a 2 defense stat somewhere. And at the end of the day, it will all come down to dice. There isn't any damage reduction, dice consistency, or anything like that to help Red Skull out. So if there is some concentrated effort to take Skull down, it's not going to be too difficult of a task for an attrition-based squad. Something that does nicely offset this, though, is that there are 3 members in affiliation that all offer some rerolls, which will help him out on the defensive side of things with the 2 Barons and Arnim Zola. In a quicker roundup, the new Master of Hydra has all the tools to hit hard and have some good board presence between some control on his attacks and his Hydra troopers. But outside of the Hydra Trooper's 1 to 2 actions, Red Skull will only be getting to affect the board with his 2 actions, with no additional support or movement for flexibility. Now, finally, we do get to talk about his leadership. World Domination says during the power phase, allied characters gain 1 power if they are holding or contesting an objective token. So basically, if you are playing the objectives like you would want to anyways, get a bonus power during the power phase. It shouldn't affect anyone outside of a large base character on a D-Secure or Extract during the first round, but for the rest of the game you should see a pretty good amount of extra power. Like, this is basically Dormammu's leadership from round 2 going forward. So in a 5-round game, this should pretty easily generate around 15 power if you go 5 wide per se. So there's a lot to love here, and while it isn't something you can lean into in the same way as Baron Strucker's, Steve's Avengers, or even Shadowland Daredevil's leadership abilities, you can plash some of the more power-hungry characters that really start doing some mean things once they have the power for it. The first couple of examples that come to mind for me are Valkyrie and Iron Fist as some cheap splashes that can maximize on the power generation, but it also allows, in my opinion, for a really good reason to break out the affiliated Bob. Between running some power generating objectives and this leadership, Bob can easily be getting 3 to 4 power a turn to start launching a couple of rockets a game extremely reliably. But aside from throwing in characters that can burn through their power quickly, this is a very plug-and-play kind of leadership that has plenty of in-affiliation rerolls to get some nice consistency across the board as well. As far as putting Skull into other affiliations, he probably doesn't want to be in with another 5-threat or more leader, and unfortunately that's where most of the leaderships he would enjoy are, but I do think there's a good option, and that is with the Winter Guard. Shaking a status condition will ensure that Red Skull gets his full action economy, which he relies pretty heavily upon, and making him that much harder to displace is never going to be a bad thing. As well, a cute interaction with the Winter Guard leadership is that the Hydra Grunts will get to come in with the stagger condition, but then it can be immediately removed with Unbreakable Red Line. But that's all I have for Red Skull, the Master of Hydra. Here at the end of the video, I want to give a shout out to the guild sponsors, Tritex Games and War Room Hobbies, which are both local gaming stores that host just like the typical game night during the week, events like OP kits, and all that kind of stuff. As well, they offer MCP miniatures at a nice bit of a discount. If you shop from them, you can use the code TritexGGCP5 at checkout when shopping with Tritex to save an extra 5% off, and if you're doing a pre-order onto something like the Sentinels, that'll actually stack into a 25% off discount, which is really nice. And then the code MCP2022 will get you an extra 10% off of whatever is in your order from War Room Hobbies. So if you want to get your hands on the new Robot Overlords, or just get your World War II lineup set, and you're shopping online anyways, consider using these stores and discounts to help out an LGS. However, if you're already shopping from your LGS, that's awesome, keep supporting them, we understand. But if you are still wanting a way to support the Guild's videos, podcasts, or anything else that we're doing, check out our Patreon page. It isn't anything too crazy, but it does give you access to the Guild Hall Discord and helps us to continue to work on new projects. So thank you to all the members of the Guild Hall who are supporting what we do here. And before I forget, we do have a monthly giveaway thanks to Tritex. All you need to do to enter is be subscribed to the channel and leave a comment on a video the same month that video was released, and you get a chance at one non-ultimate encounter, just like standard MCP pack. As always, if you have enjoyed my thoughts and are new to the channel, hit the subscribe button for a weekly dose of MCP content in the form of reviews, battle reports, and other MCP goodness. As well, you can also find the Game Regular podcast on several different podcast apps and platforms. Thank you all for watching, and until next time, keep on gaming.